probably could have died anywhere. That's what the San Francisco Police Commissioner Chief said. It was one of those shocking killings. This guy is a tech guy, but just not a normal tech guy, but more of a, well-known rich blah blah blah. He found a cash app. So he was in San Francisco, was stabbed, middle of the night. Nobody knew what really went on. Bystanders passed him by. And, well, lo and behold, he was dead. And so a lot of people got in on this, saying that, wow, San Francisco is so dangerous, crime's been rising, blah, blah, blah. And then it comes out that he actually knew the guy who killed him. Seems like they had a feud. The other guy was upset at him for getting involved with his sister. I don't know what went on, blah, blah, blah. Had sort of planned it out, had bought a knife, wanted to wait for a quiet place, drove him to this area that there weren't many people around, blah, blah, blah. And so the police chief's statement was that it could have happened anywhere. Let's take that for a second and think about it. Now, I don't disagree it could have happened somewhere else. But the thing is, it didn't. And I think it depends on your view of the world. Do you believe that everything in the world is circumstantial, coincidental? Doesn't really not planned. It's just all these confluence of things happening all together and boom, events happen, right? It's randomness, basically. Versus, you think everything is planned, like Elon Musk's AI controlling the world or God or something, but everything is planned and predetermined, basically. I think most of us are somewhere in between, but let's look at the views. So, first of all, it could have happened somewhere else, but you could say it about anything. It could have been there, it could have been there, I could have been president, anything could have, but did not, right? I could have become president. Was born in the US, that's the only qualification, right? But I'm not president, and I don't think most people think realistically I would have been president. I could have done that. Well, a lot of people could have gone to medical school, could have become a rocket scientist. Just listen to people talk. My friend's friend could have been a lawyer, but those tests, it's not that he couldn't pass it. He did fail 3 times in a row at the bar, but it's just wasn't for him. But he could have done it if he wanted to. Could have. It's sort of meaningless. Anything could have happened, but the reality is one thing happened out of this whole multiverse, right? Our universe, this thing happened, that's that. It's going to be written on a homicide record in San Francisco. So there you go. It happened in San Francisco. Non-negotiable. I guess the question is, if you look at it as all circumstantial, he just happened to choose San Francisco. Could have been Oakland because the guy's from Emeryville. Doesn't really matter. But Bob was in San Francisco for meetings or blah, blah, blah. It's all sort of coincidental. But it was planned, right? And so he picked a place, San Francisco. Do you think he picked it randomly? Do you think there's a reason he picked it? I would say, if you want to think about it that way, well, I think we could come up with many reasons he picked it. Because I would say if you're in San Francisco or Oakland or a lot of places nowadays, bystanders aren't really going to get involved in much. It's dangerous, right? I know in my college days we drove down between Berkeley and SoCal all the time. I went back home to visit people. One of my suite mates, he had a girlfriend down in Long Beach, so we just drove back and forth. And one time we were driving down, a whole bunch of us, and some person asked us, hey, could you help jumpstart their car? The driver of the car said, sure. We were in the middle of nowhere, along the 5. We had no idea where their car is because we couldn't see it, so we're like, where's your car? So he's like, just follow me, and then we run in the back. There's like a little street in back of a hotel, and it gets darker, and you're like, where is this? Right? It ended up that we took the battery out of the car to put it in their car to start their car. Because that's the solution I was told, and it seemed to work when you can't jump it just by attaching it. But that left us sitting ducks if anything happened. But nothing happened. But nowadays you hear so many stories of things happening when people stop. There's robberies planned, just looking for that good Samaritan or that sucker, shall we say. It's all very dangerous. And in a big city like San Francisco, why would you want to stop for somebody in the middle of the night. I mean, the guy's, injured, sure, but what are you going to do? Plus, what is a killer lurking around? Wouldn't you possibly get injured too if you're getting involved? You just don't want to get involved in this mess. I mean, you could always come up with the reasons why this happened or that happened. And I think the deterministic people do, right? They say, well, these things, it's not just a correlation. It's a causation, right? This happened because this happened. And I would say, I think there's truth to that, right? So many things that we think are random, just coincidental, you learn later are not coincidental, right? You don't know many backstories of why people do things. But many times people do things like they help you out for a reason, because you remind them of, their neighbor, remind them of their son, blah, 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 right? I mean, Kahneman is writing, about his childhood, Jewish in France, not good when Nazis were taking over. But he was still wearing his, regular clothes and have a Star of David outside. And some, Nazi guard called him over and he thought, oh, this is it. But the guy hugged him, the guy, gave him some money, blah, blah, blah. He must have reminded him of something. I mean, Kahneman didn't know, we don't know the guy's perspective, but so much of this stuff is determined. There's reasons. I remember one time I was supposed to meet up with somebody in Vietnam, and it's like one of those things where, you're like, can't figure out where the person is, the person's late, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, let's just give up, right? We've already tried for an hour or two. Apparently there's multiple lakes. I'm at the wrong one, you're at a different one, blah, blah, blah. But she was insistent that we meet up, and we did. And I found out later that there's a reason why. So apparently she was stood up a week or so ago, and that weighed heavily on her. And she didn't want to be somebody standing somebody else up. This has nothing to do with me. I just happen to be there. But in a sense, it has everything to do with me because I'm the recipient of all these emotions, plans, determinations. And I think that's the thing about randomly chose San Francisco. Premeditated, specifically chose it for a reason. I don't know. It's sort of philosophical, I would say. But the thing is, Bob Lee was killed in San Francisco. And it's not random.